to the stage Mr. John Rhys-Davies. You know him as Gimli from Lord of the Rings trilogy. Come on up, sir.
Hello, lovely to see you all. Look,
Yeah, we have a surprise, don't we?
What, do you want to go?
Yeah, bring him in. Yes, go on. Lawrence Makoare, Lord of the Rings trilogy. The Hobbit, you know him as Lurtz. Come on up, Lawrence.
Hello, fans. I've done a lot of these panels. You know almost everything about me, but I thought you'd be more interested to actually learn about some of the hugely important and yet completely disguised characters in Lord of the Rings. This is my colleague, Lawrence Makoare. He does not belong to the great Australian banking family, but he is a Māori. Yes? Yes, from New Zealand. Now, well, I'm going to sit down, and you can stand. You should stand, because you're the important one. Right. And I'm going to sit here and just...
I feel like I'm being interrogated now.
I don't know that these people know what a Māori is.
We're the indigenous culture of New Zealand. So we were there before Captain Cook came. They say in the written scriptures that he discovered New Zealand. However, we were there before him. So we actually discovered New Zealand. So we are the indigenous culture of New Zealand. We hold our culture deeply and spiritually. And I'm glad to be here with you all to share that with you.
Listen, I've got some questions for you. What's your background? Did you grow up as a trained actor?
No. I fell into acting accidentally, actually. My wife, at the time, unfortunately, she died 16 years ago. She did drama classes. We had just had our son at the time, so I went to look after our son, while she did drama classes. And the teacher saw me and said, "Would you like to join in?" And I said, "Hell no," because I was a road maintenance worker. And I shoveled 45 tons of hot mix by hand per day. And I loved it. I loved that job. After that job, I'd pick my wife and my son up and we'd go to the drama classes. I was asked, I didn't want to do it because I was a man. And if you've done drama classes, anyone done drama classes at all? You have? Yeah, I think you know what it's like. Yeah, that wasn't me. Eventually, after about 2 weeks of taking my wife there, I got bored, my son fell asleep, so I joined in the drama classes. They gave me my first audition, which was off the coast of Chile, doing another indigenous culture film called Rapa Nui, off the coast of Chile, which was Easter Island. That was produced by Kevin Costner, directed by Kevin Reynolds. I spent 8 months away. I didn't see my son walk, unfortunately. I got back to him walking to me at the airport. Then came Cena, Hercules, young Hercules, and a lot of other New Zealand programs. Then came James Bond. Then I went over to London and filmed James Bond for 9 weeks with the last of Pierce Brosnan's time as James Bond. And I had Halle Berry right where I needed her. Right there. And I wanted to change the script. So the bad guys actually get the lady. But no, the lady kills the bad guy by the push of a button, and then I get lasered through the mouth. Then came Lord of the Rings. When you audition for Lord of the Rings, they ask me, "Have you read the book?" And I said, "Have you seen the size of it?" I'm a comic book reader. that size? And I said, no, I haven't. I talked to friends and family that have read the book many, many times, and because trying to get the character, they asked me to audition for the Uruk-hai. I had no idea what an Uruk-hai was. No sense of watching a film to get the actual character. So when we went in for the audition, they had little silhouette cutouts of hobbits, from hobbit size, all the way to the White King, the Witch Kings. So I had to stand next to an effigy cutout, which was the Uruk-hai cutout. Then I got the Uruk-hai. I think Peter liked my performance, but in New Zealand, we only have a niche market of actors that can perform with makeup, with normal foundation, normal makeup, but when it comes to prosthetics and you're fully covered, your face is fully covered, your body's fully covered, they are quite claustrophobic. It feels claustrophobic. So they couldn't actually act those parts of Gothmog and the Witch King. So Peter said, we'll give it to Lawrence. He loves being enclosed in dark, small places. But yeah.
So wait a minute. You move from being a road worker to go to a drama class with your wife and then getting cast. What comes before that? I mean, tell me about your childhood. How many in your family? Do you have a tribe?
Yeah, my tribe in New Zealand is from Auckland, and we are the major tribe called Ngāti Whātua. That is the four connecting tribes that make up Ngāti Whātua. I was born and bred in the same house I still live in. My father and mother, say mother and father, I have 15, I'm the youngest of 15. I have 9 brothers and 5 sisters. At the moment, I only have one sister left, and she lives in Melbourne, Australia. But I was the youngest, I was the smallest. I was always bullied until I grew up. Evil.
Tell me, so where were your school? Was it a village school or?
We were all brought up, I'm a Roman Catholic, so I was brought up in a Catholic school from the age of 5 to the age of 12. So I had nuns and priests for my teachers. We were always because we were Māori, and we were the only Māori in the whole school that could sing. I won't sing for you right now because I don't have my ukulele. If I had my ukulele, ooh, you'd be in for a treat. However, we were the leaders of the choir. I was an altar boy. Hard to imagine, but I was an altar boy.
Very hard to imagine, yes.
And I loved being the altar boy. The father was fantastic, gave us not special privilege, but I came from not a very poor background. My father and mother, he had to work like really, really hard. Same with my mother, just to put food on the table. So that sort of drove me. My brothers were working, so I ended up working for my father up on the council. He was the boss and made me work, but we were always working, always, every day.
So, did you actually leave school when you were 12?
No, I went to another school. I don't know what you call it, maybe middle school, or I'm not too sure, because we have primary, then the next schooling up before college. And then I went to that school, but I spent 2 years there. Then I went to college for a little while. Unfortunately, I call it honourably discharged. And I was honourably discharged at the age of 14. When I walked home, in New Zealand we have, each tribe has their own, we call it a marae. The Indians call it a longhouse where they have meetings, gatherings, funerals, celebrations. We have exactly that. That was still being carved, so it was all wooden carvings that were actually in this house, fully carved. And it was still being carved when I was honourably just discharged walking past it. So I went in and asked them for a job. They said to go see the boss, so I went to go see the boss. I said, any jobs? They said, can you carve? And I went, no. He goes, can you draw? I went, no. Can you listen? I went, no. What? He goes, you start Monday. So that was my very first job. Wood carving. And that was when I was 14. I'm 21 now, so
Yes.
carving for a while.
Absolutely. You showed me a wonderful picture of one of the carvings that you had made, and I know that you have a real concern and passion for the craft and bringing on young sculptors and woodcarvers, don't you? Tell us a bit about that.
Well, coming up, we had no direction. Being an indigenous culture of New Zealand, we are deprived from educational sort of levels. So I look back on that in my schooling to now. I've been wood sculpting for 36 years now, and I take on younger school kids because who don't have any sense of direction. The same thing I had, I never had a sense of direction. And giving them a sense of direction in the sense of art, being artistic, or bringing that artistic ability out in them that they didn't think they had. And like the carving I showed John, I love Ewoks. Well, I loved Ewoks, so I carved Wicked. I just felt like carving him, and I got this wood which was 16,000. It was carbon dated at 16,000 years old.
Tell us about how that happened.
There was a farmer where we were sculpting. There's about 20 other sculptors, wood, stone, and steel. There was a farmer that was digging up his own property, and he came across a stump, and he was quite. Other farmers probably would have dug his whole land up. It was his to do as he pleased. But he rang archaeologists. They came, and they found an old canoe that was used 1,600 years ago. With that wood was other blocks of wood, and that farmer came to where we were working and offered us that wood. So naturally, us being wood carvers, we would jump at the opportunity to carve 16,000-year-old wood, and that's what I made Wicked out of.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. A 1,500-year-old waka canoe. What on earth makes you think that the Māori got there 1,500 years ago?
Well, when it's carbon dated to that, and it has Māori sculptures on it, and it was carbon dated by the archaeologists, and then the archaeologists went back in time and...
You mean the tree may be 1,500 years old, but the Māori only got there in 1,400, didn't they?
Well, this makes it a little bit more interesting because of the carbon dating of the waka, and it changes people's perspective once they see the proof. So we were actually, prior to us were Moriori, another tribe.
And is that really true? Now, do you really believe it? Because, I mean, Moon's book, Moon is an early scholar of New Zealand and the Māori and the Moriori.
Yeah, the Moriori.
It's very much disputed. But I think, actually, I go to your side of the argument.
Yes, because we have two islands in New Zealand, actually three. We have two islands, the North Island, the South Island, and Chatham Islands, where the Moriori were, not in the South and not in the North. Most evidence has been found in the Chatham Islands, down the bottom of the South Island. So where it comes with the carbonation of that waka, they just delved into way back histories and stuff like that, just to get the connection to Māori.
These Pacific Islanders are some of the greatest sailors and explorers the world's ever seen. Where do the Māori originate from?
Hawaii Nui. Not Hawaii, not Hawaii. Hawaii Nui is where 7 waka left Hawaii and landed on Aotearoa, New Zealand. And out of those 7 waka came 28 different tribes that are spread out throughout New Zealand. However, we hold majority in Auckland, where I'm from.
This was a very peaceful group of people, wasn't it?
Not really. If you had seen the wars that were created in Lord of the Rings between different factions, each tribe were vying for the land. So each tribe, it'll be tribal wars. That was many, many years ago, and within ourselves, against each other. North Island have the same dialect of speaking, have a different dialect of speaking to the South Island, and we didn't like any other tribes encroaching on the land that we protected. Nowadays, it's all fun and love and war, but we're all one big happy family now.
Sorry, was I laughing? I mean,
Except when the government, we don't hold very much for the government.
Right, so hang on a second. All right. Anything else? Yeah. Just an academic question. How many books were there in your house when you were a boy? In your house? 1. Now, there's a correlation between books and further education. If you live in a household that has less than 25 books, the likelihood is that your school days will end around about 14. If you live in a household that has over 500 books, there's something like an 83% likelihood that your children will go to at least university level. It's a direct correlation. Books and education are absolutely linked. And I speak with some passion because an old girlfriend of mine lived in Panama, was a great teacher, retired into the rainforest, came to me one day and said, "Look, I'm appalled about the reading levels in these native Indian schools in the jungle. And I know why, because a school library may consist of 3 books with missing pages and odd color and just missing colors. And she started a little movement. So we're bringing Spanish-speaking books. They're collecting them in Florida, and they're sending them to these schools in Panama to encourage literacy. But anyway, sorry, that was irrelevant. Now listen, shall we take some questions now?
Just that one book that we had in our family was the Bible.
And it was the Jerusalem Bible.
I don't know, I never read it. Dad just told me it was the Bible. I mean, have you seen the Bible?
Not a damn big book.
But we were deprived of our language by the government, by the Crown actually, by the English Crown. So we weren't allowed to speak our own tongue, native tongue. We were strapped, caned for speaking it. So we only had to learn English. But now, thankfully, our people in government. Māori are starting to get into government and departments and making our language revive. And it is being revived. Now we can teach the young and we can speak it openly. But yeah, the Bible, that's what the Bible says.
Right, but you know, that also happened to the Welsh in the 18th century, 19th century. Schools discouraged young Welsh boys and girls from speaking Welsh to speak English. And it starts off in a very good way, because if you're going to make your progress in the world and you only speak Māori or you only speak Welsh, there aren't that many opportunities. But of course, like all things, it becomes a tyranny. But I'm very impressed by your background. Anyway, perhaps it is time to open the floor to questions. Okay.
Questions, come line up over here, please.
Hello, good looking. So, yeah, both of y'all, come on. So you kind of touched on this with politics and everything, with the Maori people in the last year. We've seen how much y'all stood up and y'all fought for yourself. Hannah Rahiti stood up in Congress and did the haka. We're having similar issues. What do you think from Lord of the Rings side is a good, because they have governments who they're trying to defeat as well, bad guys, good guys. What do you think lessons we could learn from that movie that we could apply to our current atmosphere?
Goodness will prevail.
I was just wondering what are y'all some favorite lines or moments from the Lord of the Rings that y'all like to say in character?
Not the beard!
Find the halflings! Uruk-hai! Find the halflings!
Wait a minute. Find the halflings, right? Now, haven't you got a story about that? About finding the halflings? How did you say that when you were saying that?
All right. At that scene at top of Gimli, when I come over and say that line, I say the line without my teeth in, because it's a long shot. You would see the teeth. So it's find the halflings, Uruk-hai, find the halflings. Then they do a close-up shot of me. Then they put the teeth in. When the teeth go in, it's and my makeup artist, Gino Acevedo, who's Mexican, he was from Phoenix, he now resides in New Zealand, Wellington. He said, did you hear what you were saying? I went, yeah, find the halflings, find the halflings. He goes, no, it sounded like you were saying, Uruk-hai, find the ducklings. Uruk-hai, find the ducklings. And now there's a duck. There's a Lurtz duck. No one's seen it? It's a duck. And there's Gollum's got a duck. John's got a duck.
And in true response to our great friend Gino, who is a master, one of the great masters of makeup and design of makeup, he's just sending him back, or going to take back, some little ducks with Lurtz on it to give him, so that find the ducklings continues to be a gag between us all.
Yeah, so I've signed the ducks. I found the ducklings, G. So I'll be sending them back to him in Wellington.
Next question.
Hi, so what can y'all say about the people who did the stunts, like the stunt performers, the coordinators, like that helped coordinate all the fight scenes and stuff for the Lord of the Rings series?
What was the question, Sean?
What can you say about the stunt folks that helped y'all with the fight scenes and the coordinations?
I think I know what you're getting at. You're suggesting that those wimps those sissies of stuntmen occasionally complained that I was a little bit rough with them. That's what you're alluding to, is it not? They are pussies. They are a bunch of nimby-pimby little... Anyway, look at the size of that, for God's sake. Do you think a wee dwarf could do much damage there? The X did the damage. And the one behind the X. We had great fun.
Welcome to San Antonio.
Thank you.
What a blessing to have you here. Thank you for bringing him. I appreciate that.
Well, it's a long swim.
Well,
When he told me a few months
attaboy.
ago, I started swimming.
Attaboy, you're on the show it, absolutely. First off, I want to say thank you so much. I read the books in the 80s, all of them. Yes, sir. Nerd deluxe here. Thank you for bringing one of my favorite characters to such beautiful glory, sir. You and Gimli you were meant to play Gimli, and I thank you so much for that. Dude, yes, sir. You were definitely Uruk-hai. Did I read correctly? Did you end up buying a home in New Zealand?
I did indeed. I went back for a fan convention, and to promote it, went on TV1, and the interviewer and I ended up going out to have dinner, and we ended up 2 years later having a lovely baby daughter, who is now 19 years old and out to conquer the world, as teenage girls do.
Do you still have a home there? Do you still frequent?
Oh, well, as often as I can get there, yes. But really there is not enough work for me there. Probably an awful lot of work there for you, isn't there?
Yes, the Chief of War. That's Jason Momoa. Second season will be starting filming. Hopefully not soon, because I'm here. And Hunt for Gollum will be starting in May. But unfortunately the Hobbits won't be available because they're going to start their little adventure, starting in Dallas and trotting all around the States for all of most of next year. So I don't think they're in the Hunt for Gollum. But Gino Acevedo, as John explained, we were talking the other night, and he's just been asked by Peter to be the makeup, special effects makeup, and he's just brilliant.
Yeah. He designed Gimli, for instance. He's the loveliest man you can imagine. We both love him dearly. He's a wonderful, always smiling, very smart, very modest man, and a joy to know and work with. But for those of you who are going to ask, is Gimli going to be back in that? Well, Gimli has made it clear that if it was possible, he would love to work with them all again. The only caveat is this. Look, 80 pounds of armor and prosthetics and all that sort of thing, and running up and down hills was good when I was 55. I'm 81 now, and that may just be a little bit more than a dwarf would wish to carry. But I'm sure there are tricks that we might be able to use. Next question.
Hello. Lord of the Rings has been around for decades, since the 50s, because the books and the movies just expanded the fan base. What does it feel like for both of you to be a part of something that is so meaningful to so many people around the world?
My shot. Okay. It is so important. Lord of the Rings has been such an integral part of so many people's lives around the world. And it often has a hugely emotionally loaded component to it because people come who have watched it with a grandfather or a father or a mother, and they watched it constantly, and our father and mother or grandfather or grandmother has gone. And suddenly coming to a convention and seeing the real life people behind the characters that you both shared laughter and sympathy and love and adoration for is quite overwhelming. And people always get a bit ashamed when they start to have tears in their eyes and things like that. All I can say is, I've met kings, queens, presidents, and I've been ultra cool. But the time I met 5 of the greatest members of the greatest Welsh rugby team, and they're all my age, and there are tears streaming down my face. And they're looking at me and saying, "What's the matter with you, boy?" You know, sometimes there is a connection between the event, our lives, and suddenly one of the people there who've been part of it. It's a glorious thing for an actor. It's a great responsibility for an actor. But I'm awfully really glad that I can share that part of our lives with you, of our common life together. Next question.
Hi. Sorry, very awkward. Anyway, so I'm a 5th grade teacher, and I'm just super curious if you could say anything to like this future generation right now, especially from, someone who did struggle with school and everything like that. Like, what would you want to say? Because I would absolutely love to share this with my kids if possible.
Saying is one thing, doing is another. So I say and do what I do. And I show them what I do with these hands. I love to create with my hands, and finding them, giving them that little bit of a niche thought in their mind that they can be an artist or an actor. Just give them that slight little bit of vision, or coaxing them, pushing them into a better direction. Because we all have different directions. There's a good direction to go, and there's a bad direction. I have that choice. I went to the good direction. But I tell the children that I talk to, it's purely up to you which way you actually go. Because we have gangs in New Zealand, bad gangs, and that's the way they've been taught and brought up in the gang life. I was around the gangs, but I chose not to, and that was my choice, and I think it's for the better, so I try and help them to get out of those gang-related situations, because it can only go bad from there. But I've helped quite a few young children, I'm glad to admit. So I try and push them in the right direction.
I hate talking about this because we are on the verge of an extraordinary age where everything is going to be turned upside down. We're going to have, people talk about the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution put people out of work, but you could say that later on the weavers who were in my family ended up, doing other jobs and improving their standards of living. The Industrial Revolution took place over 100 odd years. We're going to have the robotic and AI revolution over about 50 to 80 months, and it's imminent. And when Morgan Stanley talk about 68 million jobs, present jobs being lost to AI and robotics between now and 2040, which is 14 and a bit years' time, you understand the impact on all our lives is going to be colossal, unprecedented in the history of mankind. And the impact on that will fall on the youngsters. I meet people now who've just graduated from film school, and they've been taught how to make films traditionally. Everything they've been taught is really almost out of date already. The new films will be not requiring actors very long, maybe for 2 or 3 years. Maybe I'll hang on a bit longer, I'm an old hangover from a past age, but really I would never encourage a young actor anymore to really think about becoming a professional actor. That's possibly true of filmmakers. Everyone in this room who knows anything about AI can see the advantage to them. What we don't see is the colossal disadvantage to all those people who have now been removed from the problem that we can now solve very easily and very cheaply. A colossal loss of work, a colossal impact. And I think this country is the only country that I know of that understands that and is preparing for it. But that's not something that we should talk about now. Life will go on, and those who can adapt will have to adapt. Those who think they can live in the past, pursuing the old ways, will actually spend their days in great unhappiness and misery. I believe that we are creating a new species. AI is a new species of creature that we've never seen before. It is infinitely adaptable, infinitely perfectible. It will do things clumsily this week, get better next week, but there is no limit to what it can achieve. And we are we cannot and will not be able to compete with that. There's also another maxim of biology that some of you here will know. Two species cannot share the same eco-niche. That one will push the other out or drive the other out. The eco-niche that we occupy is wildly and completely dependent on electricity. For an artificial intelligence, electricity is absolutely an existential necessity. But it is also for us. Take away our distribution system, and within, what's the saying, the military saying, that within a year, 9 out of 10 Americans will be dead. Can't refrigerate. We can't keep medicines cool. We can't plan how to get things from A to B. It would be a catastrophe if we lost our main supply. Anyway, this is a little bit esoteric, and I don't wish to be such a pessimist, but the truth of the matter is, I know enough about this to be pessimistic. By and large, those who can work with their hands will probably do better in the course of this lifetime. In the end, things will sort out, as long as the AI doesn't decide that it can do without us, or may have to do without us. That's a real bummer, isn't it? I'm so sorry. Next.
Hi, Bernice here. My question is, what was your experience like traveling around New Zealand and the terrain and the snow and mountains during filming?
Well, you've traveled around New Zealand a fair bit because
I flew on a Nazgul, so I didn't have to tread through the snow. I didn't do very much travelling, actually. I was just in Wellington, but you did more than I did.
I did, but you've travelled New Zealand because you've been mending the damn roads. And there's some amazing roads in New Zealand that were cut
and if I knew the hobbits and them were travelling on it, I would have put potholes, I say, all over the place.
New Zealand is breathtakingly beautiful. Absolutely the right place to shoot the film. Because New Zealand separated from Gondwana man before the evolution of mammals. The early mammals in New Zealand before the arrival of the Māori in about 1400 were two species of bat that were probably blown in. So the flora and the fauna of New Zealand really are evolutionary, quite separated, apart from what the Māori brought in and the Pakeha brought in. Pakeha is Māori. But the vegetation just looks just that little bit off. And Tolkien is trying to create a pre-Arthurian legend for England, for Britain. And that slight alienation makes the whole thing. Middle-earth is not England, and Middle-earth really is in New Zealand. I remember we got to that place where, I've forgotten the name of the place now. We arrived and we looked round, and there was this plain with snow-capped mountains all the way around. And we just looked at it, and those of us who've been in films before just said to each other, no one will believe that this is real. They're all going to think this is a painted backdrop. But it was real and breathtakingly beautiful. Would you disagree with me that South Island is prettier than North Island?
Most definitely.
Yep.
There's too many sheep in the North Island.
You sound like a Welshman.
There's a lot of wine in the South Island.
But you know, the number of sheep in New Zealand are diminishing. Though I was driving down South Island one day, and I had to stop the vehicle because there was a flock of sheep coming. And you stop and let them pass. And then a Toyota Hilux came along, and we, as New Zealanders do, we stopped and we started talking. And the sheep continued to go past. And in that stupid way that we do, we find connections with strangers. Oh, I've got a small holding in the Isle of Man, and we've got some sheep too. How many? About 150. Oh, that's good. How many sheep have you got? And he said, this flock, about 2,000. And I said, how many flocks have you got? He said, it varies, but, somewhere between 15 and 22. 22 flocks of 2,000, yeah. That's a little bit more than my 150. Next question.
Hi, I'm Elena, and what was the most hardest scene for you to do?
For me, every day getting into makeup is the hardest thing to do, but the most fun one was one that I probably don't have to talk about. I can probably go. Next question. That's it. You've been a wonderful audience. And what was the hardest scene for you to do?
The 11-hour makeup as the naked Lurtz in the Orphan Chamber with Christopher Lee. But because I was working with Christopher Lee, that made me want to get into character even more. So it took 11 hours to do the makeup. We'd shoot for 10-hour shoot day. It'll take 4.5 hours to remove the makeup. To do that 3 times, that's the hardest thing to do.
It's absolutely hard. All right, well, listen, thank you very much. You've been a marvellous audience. And I'm glad that you like Lord of the Rings and one or two of the other things that you've done. What's your next job?
Unsure, but I'm hoping to be Chief of War, or even to play Gollum in The Hunt for Gollum.
I thought you were a natural for Galadriel.
Still fun.
You've been wonderful.
Thank you.